Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a paid advertising. TheOnlyGround.com, the THE onlyground.com is one of the most amazing places for information that I consistently go to. If you guys want to have conversations about our old interviews or even topics that we don't discuss, the group of people that are on the onlyground.com message boards are some of the most brilliant that I have ever come across. Those little like knick-knack facts that we get here and there, that's where a lot of it comes from. Please check out the link in the bio.
Welcome to the show. I am MMA insider and Herb Dean's dog sitter, Joey Venti, and you're listening to the MMA History Podcast, the only podcast dedicated 100% to the preservation of mixed martial arts history. Interviews and stories about the early days of MMA direct from the men who lived it. Hundreds of interviews, thousands of hours of research, all conducted by the most obsessed mind in the business, the MMA detective Mike Davis. Join us as we document the history of the sport we all love.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a very special episode. I am the MMA detective Mike Davis. Along with me is Andrew Mendoza. Our special guest is none other than Mr. Live Worldwide, Mr. Jeff Houston. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
I never get tired of hearing that, especially from the miracle that is Mike Davis. Well, a miracle maybe Monday through
You talking like special needs miracle? Are we talking like that kind of?
Hey, that's all in your head, brother, not mine.
Okay. All right. So Jeff, Andrew, let's talk about Jeff. In front of Jeff, things that we say behind Jeff's back. How would you describe Jeff Houston's voice?
Every time you say the let's knuckle up, it sounds like a muscle car revving up.
Yep.
A lot of torque, a lot of in the arena, you can just feel the experience. It's an attraction. It's definitely an attraction.
All right, Andrew, I was not expecting to hit the golden buzzer yet in this interview, but you have won the golden buzzer because that is exactly how I modeled Let's Knuckle Up to be. I 100% intended it to sound like some muscle car, NASCAR, whatever car you want to call it, revving the fuck up. That is exactly the whole purpose. Wow. Well, nobody's ever gotten that yet. That's very impressive.
Yeah. So
that's very impressive.
So Jeff, like we kind of correlated to like the Indianapolis 500, like the gentlemen start your engine. So like in our opinion, you get a good lead-in guy, like let's just say it's like for like weigh-ins, and then you bring out your muscle car, and then you get your lead out guy, same guy as the lead in. So it's kind of like this is our secret weapon. You detonate it, and then you kind of like let the person go, hey, it's about to go off. And then, man, ladies and gentlemen, look at that experience that we just had. And, your voice, it's an instrument, Mike, and it's synonymous with
Mike. That was an
BKFC.
Exhausting analogy.
Yeah, no, dude. It's amazing.
I'm serious, man. Yeah. When were you going to cut that by at least 30 seconds, bro?
Okay, here we go. So Jeff, for audience at home, we're an MMA history podcast, but we're going to be dropping every once in a while. We're going to be dropping a BKFC on Thursday. This episode, we're really going to concentrate on Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, their first event, their inaugural event. But prior to that, let's kind of dig into Jeff Houston. Oftentimes when you hear comedians and the first time they take the stage, it's on a dare, it's on a bet. What made you cross over from civilian life through the ring ropes and become a ring announcer?
Because I happened to come across an independent pro wrestling show that was on our cable station, and I heard the announcer on there, and I said, I've never done this a day in my life, but I know I could do better than him. And it was just one of those. I'd always liked the position back in the day. I've told this story a couple times, and I'm going to try to give you the Cliff Notes version of it. I'm not exactly known for doing that, but I'll try. Basically, what happened is that you remember back in the old pay-per-view black box days when you would order a pay-per-view, but if you decided not to order it, but you just went to the channel, It'd either be
Yes.
snow or it'd be black and you can still, or it'd just be a black screen, but you could still hear it.
Yes.
But you could still hear it. Well, I really started, really appreciating the ring announcer out of habit because I didn't always get the pay-per-views when I was a kid. But the ring announcer's voice stands out more than anybody's. And then you get to watch it back, later on USA Network, regular cable station, whatever. And you would end up getting yourself that familiarity with the opportunity that maybe God decided that you were not going to be an athlete. So you got to find something else to do. Well, I've had a big mouth since day one. I am right where I belong.
All right, Jeff, what was your first actual paid gig?
Paid
gig.
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell you something, ladies and germs. This is how people took advantage of me at the beginning. I didn't get paid my first year. I didn't make a damn dime.
Who was it for?
I got my ass kicked a lot in that first year, man. But that's your
Who
first
was it
year. You're
for?
supposed to get your ass kicked in anything, especially if it's your career. The first gig I ever did was an independent pro wrestling show at a carniceria, a meat market in San Antonio.
Okay. So it was a pro wrestling circuit.
I started off on the Indie Pro Wrestling League before I got into fighting.
Okay. So Andrew and I, we're historians through and through. We're students. And, the one thing that he and I talk about also is whenever the new person shows up on YouTube or on your TV and you don't know their past history, you're like, where'd they come from? How were they? We don't know their name, and now all of a sudden we're being told to know their name. And Andrew, more often than not, I think you can agree with, they've never done the independent grind.
Yeah, they were just planted there, and you're supposed to know their whole history from day one.
And it's very little history. It's
no
usually
dues were paid.
No dues are paid.
There's more to it than that. There is an unsung hero in ring announcers that we sacrifice that a lot of people don't know. Okay. Fighters get into the game because they love to fight, but certain fighters love the fight and love the spotlight. They love the spotlight. They love the attention being on them because you feel relevant. You feel like you matter in this world. And that's a wonderful feeling. I chase that feeling all the time. But check this out, okay? I have become one of the best in the world at what I do. And what I do is I spend all of my time putting other people over. That's my job. My job is to do that. I am in an entertainment position where the focus is not on me. It's on me for a second when I'm doing my job, but nobody is there to see me directly. The only person that should have ever come to see the ring announcer at a job is their mother or their family. That's about it, dude. They come to see that. So there's that unsung hero that even though that maybe we had an entertainment background, that we decided to go ahead and put others over and be the best in the world at putting other people over other than yourself. But the minute that you start adding a little performance to your repertoire, the performance announcer, that's a relatively new world as of right now. I think Bruce was one of the first ones to really start doing the performance announcing. So with that being said, all of the old school promoters don't like that because they've always felt that the ring announcer should just have a voice and very little presence. You should just hear the voice.
So Andrew, when we talk to our MMA guys, we say there's certain benchmarks that you got to check in order to be like a true, just a journeyman, somebody that's been around. As a ring announcer, Jeff Houston, if you had to think of one check mark, and that's one box that's got to get checked. Come on, dude. I'm thinking it.
Talking about
so
going to the
Hold
Indies?
up, Jeff. Nah, dude, he got to get sued.
Okay,
You kidding me?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to bring that up yet.
Yeah. Jeff, have you ever been sued by anybody or at least served legal papers?
Cease and desist, absolutely.
Dude, these ring announcers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Have I had those who thought that I was probably approaching their trademarked intellectual property just a little too closely? Of course I have, but I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Funny thing about it is that it's never my intention to replicate, because the one thing, hey, comparison is the thief of joy. I'm not out there to be anybody else but Jeff Houston. But every now and then people think you're wheezing off of somebody else's gig. Such as life.
Well, in terms of your style, there's nobody else doing it. I mean,
no.
I mean,
my style is mine. It's my style. I mean, dude, I could be standing there on the boat, Enter the Dragon, and then there's that Australian fighter that asked me, "What's your style?" My style? You can call it the art of announcing without announcing.
Okay,
there it is,
so, Jeff. It's got to be Bruce Buffer. I mean, him and his brother are some litigious individuals.
You know something? As much as I would like to dig into that, I think I'm going to keep my shovel right up here.
Okay, here. Without naming names, do they ever try to reach out to you before they send you a cease and desist, or does it just show up at your door, sign here, or an email show up in your inbox?
You know something, for the benefit of the company,
no names.
I would rather not.
Really?
That's for the benefit. Me. You know something, man. Look. Sometimes professional mudslinging is necessary. I understand that, especially when a colleague does something that's very unprofessional and such. But at the same point, it was the company. It was the company was reached out to. I was not. So therefore, that's why I choose to take the high road.
Okay. Oh, okay. So because, dude, I mean, it's Andrew. This is hypothetical. Like we don't know. We've never been in those shoes. But so it's not like an inbox thing. They actually reach out to the company. Oh, so that is actually really serious.
I just think it was I think somebody just saw that, somebody was getting bigger. Somebody was getting attention. There's a certain somebody who put out an article like less than 2 years ago that said that when it's his time to step down, that there is nobody on the earth right now that could even come close to filling his shoes. When I saw that, anger and comedy, almost every emotion just running through me at once. I'm like, really? Because I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to be in this until the day I die. I know that. If I die in the ring, I'm fine with that. But the one thing that I'm definitely not going to say is that no one can fill my shoes, because talent grows in this industry. It absolutely does. I am definitely not going to be the best ever. I'm pretty damn good right now, but as far as like the test of time, I don't know yet. I've only been doing this for 22 years. I mean, that's a long time to do anything, but I've a whole lot more in me.
Well, Jeff, where I think where people miss is you also have to have the opportunity, like batting practice. And when you talk about big events that require an announcer, those are very far and few between, and you got to put some miles on your car and your credit card in order to make that happen. And as you said, your first year was free. So the batting practice alone is damn near impossible to get.
It's more improbable than impossible, because the damnedest thing about it is that there's really no announcer school that you can go to. There's not too many references outside of actually getting out there, making the connections, actually being good at what you're doing, so that someone can see you as an asset to their company instead of a liability. That's what it is. And that just, like anything, takes time. But as we all know, these generations moving forward, they don't want to take time. They want to work smarter, not harder.
So BKFC 1. Let's talk about the gig. How did you get it? When did you find out about it? Did you go to the tryout?
I will tell you, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because BKFC 1 was truly one of the best days of my professional life. I have been working with Sean Wheelock for many years, on and off with Roy Jones Jr. boxing promotions back in the day. And we had done other promotions as well. We had not only, we weren't only colleagues, we became good friends. And Sean reached out to me one day and said, Jeff, just want to let you know, something coming up with this guy that I'm working with, David Feldman. He is looking to legalize bare knuckle fighting on June the 2nd. And I'm like, really? He's like, what would you think? Can I pass your name along? And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. So he passed that along, and Dave was like, okay, let's go with it. And it was just one of those things. I'll tell you, man, I was excited, but I also saw this definitely falls under the hit or miss category because nobody was doing it at the time, Mike. So it was. I was taking a calculated risk, as was Sean, as was anybody that was involved with BKFC one. We had no idea what was going to happen from this. But at the same time, think about it: bare knuckle, never been done before legally on U.S. soil. I mean, even back in the 1800s, it wasn't legal. It just took place. It wasn't legal then. BKFC was the first fully bare knuckle fighting event from one to moment done. So there it is.
Yeah. I mean, people were doing it, but it was more like pulling people from a bar, from a bar stool and having them fight.
Oh yeah.
So did you go to the tryout in Philadelphia at the ECW arena?
I did not.
Okay. So you get the call. How far out of the event did you get it?
Oh, it had to have been a month. It had to have been it was like May. It was late April, early May, just a month before, and, he had been talking to me about this. And I had just signed with a big Russian organization just a few months, about 4 months prior and such. So I was bouncing back and forth between South Korea and Russia and all of Europe because of these two shows that I was working with at these MMA shows. And they're fantastic. Some of the best MMA shows I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, Road FC. Yeah,
that was Road FC and ACA. Road FC and ACA. Yeah.
ACA. Do you still work with them? I'm assuming not, based on your schedule.
Well, I haven't been back to Road FC. I haven't been back to Road FC since 2019. The COVID really messed that up for Road FC, and they had been moving at like a snail's pace to get live events back. So they have just kind of moved forward without me for the time being, and that's fine because they're bringing in Lenny Hart from Japan to work on those shows. And I was working pretty closely with Lenny when she got brought on to Road FC. She was doing, her well-known outside ring announcements, and I would do the in-ring announcements.
And that ACA, and that's a completely different topic. we can do a 2-hour episode just on the dealings behind the scenes over there. I mean, it's the old west, man. It's the old west over there.
Oh, it's wild. It's pretty damn wild. That's for sure.
All right. So when's the first time you get to see the ring?
That is what sold me on it. Actually, that's what sold me on BKFC. That I knew that this was going to be something special when I stepped into the squared circle for the very first time at the Cheyenne Ice and Event Center, because I had done thousands of shows leading up to this. I had already been, by the time I got to BKFC, I already had 15 years in as an announcer. So I had seen so much already. But never had I seen a debut with a combat sports event that had a custom-made ring for its debut. I'd never been a part of something like that because everywhere else that I worked, they had their own cage, they had their own ring. It was whatever. This was custom built specifically for this sport. And when I got in, I was just mesmerized. I said, wow, this is cool. This is a hell of an effort for a debut. This is a hell of an effort for a debut on the cosmetic sense. Because like I said, they could have gotten any regular ring. But no, they had a specific ring that was built specifically for BKFC. And out of the brilliant mind of Gary Grant Jr., which is the only good thing that I'll say about him. No, I'm just kidding, Gary.
All right. So Andrew, you and I have had dozens of conversations like this. It seemed like BKFC 1 out of the box, it was packaged nice. Like it was appealing to the eye.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, from the colors that they used, the way the ring was shaped, the production, the fighters that they had on the card, the ring announcer, the commentators, everything was very good production. And
surprisingly,
yeah, it didn't seem like some cheap one-off deal. It seemed, like they had already been around for a while.
Yeah, and like oftentimes, without naming names, oftentimes you will see like a platform that an organization uses that it's not conducive to travel, and it's going to take labor to build it every single city. And what they're not counting in is, well, some of these venues are strict union venues, to where no matter what it is that you guys got working on this ring, they're probably not going to be able to pick up a hammer, because the guys making $75-$80 an hour got to build something that they've never put together before. So when I initially had saw this ring, I remember calling Chris Lytle going, this is either going to save them or it's their anchor. It's one of two things. Yeah, and the packaging behind it was incredible.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything works.
Yeah.
See, the thing about it, Mike, everything works. Everything fits. That's why it works
and
the way
it's
it
on
does.
wheels. It's on wheels. So like,
no. We're about to get superconductor electromagnetism that levitates bullet trains. That's what we're getting right now.
There's wheels underneath it. So like another issue is like, you've got this big train car of a platform, and oftentimes like they center it, but the guy centering it under the lights, it's just a little off. So you got to get 15 to 20 guys to pick it up and kind of move it over an inch here or an inch there. When I got underneath, like I was at their fourth event, and I specifically went underneath the ring to just kind of understand it. And it blew me away. Like I couldn't wrap my head around it.
I know,
Andrew, you've put it together.
Gary's good.
Yeah, I've put it.
Gary knows rings. He knows rings, man.
The small ring doesn't have wheels yet. The bigger ring does come with wheels. So I don't know if they want to add to the smaller ring, just for, you never know.
Yeah, no, it's either your anchor or something.
Well, you know who's the biggest fan right now of the smaller ring is Chris Lytle. Chris Lytle is the biggest fan of the smaller ring, and he told me the first day, he's like, Jeff, I don't think the small ring's gonna do it. I don't think so. I just, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to fight. There's just, I don't know. We're just gonna have to see. That was actually pretty good, Chris.
So, reading the press release, I remember going through this because I'm just like, I can't wrap my head around it. I loved the beginning days of MMA, so now we kind of get to see it play out. And when you read it, it's in Wyoming. It's at 6,000 feet of elevation.
It's more than that. It was actually closer to 8,000.
And there's 8 heavyweight fights on the card. Okay, so Andrew, they kind of reeks of disaster just from like reading it, knowing nothing, having never seen it. Can we agree?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
and these are big heavyweights. Tony Lopez, Arnold, AJ Adams, big guys.
Joey Beltran. So like,
absolutely,
like the UFC, they have a famous event that took place in Denver, Colorado, that was filled with heavyweights, and they were literally like bent over, hands on their knees, just gasping for air about midway through the first round. Like it was.
Well, those who didn't acclimate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't come in a week ahead of time and acclimate, you probably were a little bit better. But those who flew in like 2 or 3 days, that's not enough time for a heavyweight to acclimate with in the Mile High City. That's no way.
Yeah. And right out the gate, the half plum, which is it's incredible.
I love the half tie.
The half clinch, with as long as one arm is free, you can punch.
Yep.
That was in the rule set day one.
Yep. Yeah, it sure was. Dave's rule set for the overall idea that was BKFC is another thing that I love so much, because it's tailored for excitement. Yeah. It's tailored to keep the fighters on their toes. I mean, 5 2-minute rounds. Let's face it. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of time, but most of the fighters will tell you that 2 minutes sometimes feels like a lifetime because it slows down in the ring.
Yeah. So right out the gate, you got the ring, decent production.
Yep.
You got the half plum. And like, if you, it's an old boxing adage where when the heavyweight division is healthy, the rest falls in line. It's an old school. You watch any like old boxing interviews with some of the old promoters. That's things that come out of their mouth. And they start with this heavyweight tournament in Wyoming. Jeff, do you remember calling the first fight? You got Arnold Adams versus DJ.
Of
Linderman.
course, I'll never forget that AJ was the first one on the card. Come on now. Of course, I'll never forget that. Come on, our two-time BKFC heavyweight champion. I'm not going to forget AJ Adams. And you don't forget AJ when you meet him. AJ has a personality unlike almost anyone that I've ever met, man. It's hard to read AJ because he keeps rewriting his like brain script. If he has a brain script that he normally comes to you at, and this is how you know AJ, he's the kind of guy that can rewrite that like a couple seconds before he talks to you again. He's tough to figure out, man. And I dig that, man. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So in AJ, I think he's like the dark horse in the tournament. I don't think anybody expected much. He didn't
have a lot to say.
He had
AJ's never been a promo guy. So therefore, if you're not a promo guy and this out loud crazy personality moving at 1,000 miles a minute, sometimes you get overlooked.
Yeah. He had an unremarkable combat sports career prior to this. And when you saw that first fight, Andrew, you see the first fight, it looks like modern bare knuckle fighting between, and it's the first one out the gate. It's two very
him and
relaxed
DJ
people.
Linderman. Yeah, him and DJ Linderman that kicked off the first fight. It's like AJ already kind of had an idea. He already had kind of a blueprint, which is kind of weird because I go back to the weigh-in show that we did. It was one of the most unique weigh-in shows I've ever been a part of because I figured that this is bare knuckle. This is testosterone literally coming out their faces. And they've got to be up there. They're just going to tear into each other already at the weigh-in show. Furthest thing from the truth. It was the most docile weigh-in show I had been a part of in quite some time. I think what it was is that everybody was wrapping their heads around what was going to happen. Because some of them going into this had no freaking clue. I mean, the only person that had kind of an idea was Bobby Gunn.
Feldman did a couple illegal bare knuckle shows.
A couple. Bobby Gunn apparently
Feldman,
by the time that he reached us, he had a unofficial undefeated record at 74-0 when he came to BKFC 1. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to try to wonder whether it's true or not and everything like that. I'm like, you know something? Let Frank Dukes be Frank Dukes. Let Bobby Gunn be Bobby Gunn. That's cool.
I think you're right on that. But Andrew, coming out the gate, watching it, shocking that it just wasn't guys going berserk. Like it was measured. It even surprised Antonio Tarver.
Yeah, I think, they knew what was at stake. Calculated risk. I mean, any of those punches could have, ended the night for them. So I knew they had to be cautious. These heavyweights, it's, quick fights for the most part. Jeff, I was going to ask you, when you hear the knuckles hitting the skin, were you just like wincing at that by any chance?
No, it's the furthest thing from the truth. I'd already been in combat sports at that time. I started in combat sports in 2006, started independent pro wrestling in 2003 and combat sports in 2006. So by the time that I got to BKFC 1, I already had 15 years in as a ring announcer. 9 of those years were in combat sports. I was already kind of desensitized by that time because I'd already seen a lot of blood, a lot of cuts. I'd seen a death or two. Unfortunately, at that time, nobody ever wants to see that, but unfortunately I did. And a lot of people getting, gurneyed out of the cage or the ring. And you realize how real this is. But as it played out, it was brilliant. I mean, it was like, the shit's chess, not checkers. Everybody was thinking, oh my God, these are just glorified street fighters. No, they're not. No, they are not. If you ever watch street fighting on like YouTube, it's sloppy as hell. It's not technical in any sense. A street fight, you do what you can to kill the other dude. That's what a street fight is there for. This is civilized violence. Civilized violence is what I like to call this. And that's exactly what it is. People see, but you know how it is, guys. When you see the blood and cuts for the first time, you think that that's the worst. when most fighters will tell you that they'd rather have the blood and cuts any day of the week and twice on Sunday before they get a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising. Arnold Adams wins by a cut. DJ Linderman.
It was a bad cut too.
Yeah, DJ Linderman looked good.
I
Stitch
remember
Duran
that one.
was in Arnold Adams' corner. Bill Smith was in Linderman's corner. And, it's like, I think even they kind of were like, wait a minute, man, we're doing a lot of work here. Like, I think, yeah, I think even they were surprised.
Oh, remember we had Stitch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember we had Stitch. We had good old Jacob with us when we started. And Jacob said that up until then, he had never worked that hard before as a cut man. He said, I'm really working for my money when it comes to BKFC. And I love that. And I love that. The way it played out. Oh, I mean, it was the biggest surprise it was the biggest professional surprise of my life, because I thought it was going to be sloppy as hell.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was just
guys had some of them had an idea already.
I thought it was going to be a spectacle. Yeah.
Well, and you look at the guys on the card. I mean, if you look at the guys who are on the card that are still with us, I mean,
we're getting
we got
Jeff.
We got Beck. We got Beck
Jeff.
Rawlings. We had Johnny Bedford as our 145-pound inaugural champion. Travis Thompson, Joey Beltran. I mean, the list goes on and on. Sam Shewmaker, Dale Sopi, Ricco Rodriguez only fought for us the one time. We actually saw him at the last show. We actually saw him at the last show. He made an appearance.
You talking about the one where in Salt Lake City?
Yeah. Ricco Rodriguez was there.
I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we move on to Omar Aguilar versus Estevan Payan. One of the
great fight. Estevan Payan. They were thinking he was going to be something really big. They had counted on Estevan Payan being something big in BKFC, and for a little while he was.
Well, Omar also, like, in order to ensure that he got on the card, requested to fight for free. Like, he's like you watch his pre-fight video, he's like, no, I want to be a part of history. This is history. Like, he got it. He knew before anybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I think Dave knew before everybody. I think Dave, if there's any one person who had his ear to the grindstone and his thumb on the pulse, it was definitely Dave. Dave tears me a new double wide asshole anytime that he gets a chance to, and everything like that. But I think the guy's brilliant at what he does. And what he does is bare knuckle fighting championship. That's what he fucking does.
Andrew and I have had conversations where in the beginning, Dave's biggest issue, and it was a very, very big one, was people catching up to him and understanding his vision. Like, what was so simple and easy and just, come on, dude. Something just, like I said, simplistic in his brain. It took all of us to kind of like run really fast to catch up to his jog.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because we had been so involved in the minutia that is combat sports when it comes to boxing, MMA, all the politics, all the bullshit, dealing with, state athletic commissions that, don't want to work with you. I mean, there's problem after problem after problem. Dave stripped the nuts and bolts away from all that. And it's almost like he was like saying the mythical overlay is so enormous and not good that the truth is so simple. And
Dude.
it is. And it is. There is nothing more simple than being struck by another human being's bare knuckle fist. Brass tacks, baby.
One of the owners is a guy named Howard Appeal.
Yes.
And he came in like the 20s. Like, I think it was the early 20s, maybe like 18, 19, 20, 21. And it was like my fourth or fifth, maybe even sixth consistent show. And I was sitting next to him, and he's just like, so what do you think? And this is before he came out as an owner. And I'm just like, man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around Dave Feldman. I go, like this is all good, but like I've been in combat sports for X amount of years. I've traveled, been to numerous countries. mentally ill when it comes to certain facets and things of history. But his understanding and me trying to get on the same page with him was probably my most difficult thing. And still even today, like I have issues trying to kind of
see, look what happens. Look what happens. You mess with Dave and your power goes out.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
See, he's always listening. He's always there.
Here we go. So Estevan Payan, between the two of those guys, they had 50 fights, which is pretty incredible. I mean, they had 50 total fights between the two of them. Maurice Jackson, Dale Sopi is your next event. Maurice Jackson's got 32 kickboxing matches and is 31-1. And in my opinion, he was probably the favorite coming into this.
No. I can honestly tell you, as far as the heavyweight tournament, a lot of people wanted Maurice Jackson to win.
I thought he was the favorite.
A lot of people wanted Maurice Jackson to win because of the fact that, look at him coming in. 6'9", biggest guy that's ever been on the BKFC roster. His kickboxing background was just legendary. Absolutely legendary. And I like the idea of a former kickboxing wunderkind coming into bare knuckle and making it their own. I thought that'd be badass. I love it when you get a successful crossover athlete. It's cool when you get a crossover athlete that gets a taste for it. It's exciting. You know why? Especially when it comes to BKFC. One of my favorite sayings, one punch changes everything.
Yeah.
There's no other combat sport for just one punch. It's usually either a combination or a punch or a combination of events leading up to the defeat. That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's it, Mike. Simple. I love it.
You lead into the fourth fight with Reggie Barnett and Travis Thompson. You got two Hall of Famers right there. You got future champion Reggie Barnett and Travis Thompson contended for the belt. Like that's as legit as you can get.
Man, that was so much fun. That was just so much fun, man. Travis Thompson is still the same guy that he was back then. He's still the guy who says, yes, I'm going to go out there and kick some ass, but I'm not going to be able to take much time afterwards because I'm going to have to go lay a sidewalk over here, or I'm going to have to do some roofing the very next day. I mean,
landscaping.
With his landscaping business. So yeah. So I mean, he's a working man's fighter. He's the Dusty Rhodes of BKFC.
In my opinion, like I believe occasionally the journeyman can make his way to the Hall of Fame. Travis Thompson checks those boxes. Guy maybe never had the accolades as his peers, but has he saved fights? Yes. Did he go 5 rounds with the world champion? Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
On a last-minute fight. He's one of my favorites to watch. And Reggie Barnett is no joke. First time in BKFC history they ever go to a decision.
Yep. And Reggie was another guy who had a boxing pedigree, and you never know how a boxer is going to do.
Well, a traditional
crossover, and he just absolutely took to it like a fish to water, man.
Yeah, he was on like the national Golden Gloves tour. Like the people they win their little region and then they advance. His family, in terms of regional boxing, is incredibly famous.
Famous. Multiple generation regional boxers. Nobody that ever really went anywhere as far as big time world champions, but as far as regional legends, oh my God, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Bring your lunch to work. These, you better train.
Reggie's the first world champion Reggie became the first world champion in his family.
Yeah.
And he was also, he became the first world champion in his family. So that was a big deal for him.
Yeah. Around the late teens, early 20s, they had me on street team, just kind of getting a feel for the local community.
Okay.
I have never seen a community embrace a family more like Reggie's family. Like never, ever, ever, ever. Like I sat down with his dad and I'm like, you need to run for alderman. You need to run for political office. And it was me being sincere. It wasn't me being kind of like, hey, let me kiss your ass a little bit. It was, no, man. You don't get it. Like, you don't get it because you're you and you're
a politician.
Being you.
Yeah.
You need to run for political office.
Absolutely. He was the working man. He was the working man's politician. 100%, man. Boy, could he rap. He could talk. He could talk, man.
Fifth fight, Johnny Bedford. Nick Mammalus.
Mammalus.
Yeah, Nick's got 29 wins. He's a 3-time wrestling state champion out of Wyoming. Johnny Bedford is a multiple-time state champ out of Ohio. Six-time UFC fight veteran, on the Ultimate Fighter. Both very accomplished guys in their own right.
Well, Johnny, I had known Johnny many, many years before BKFC started. Johnny and I bled the same blood in the same mud, so to speak, when we were coming up on the regionals. He was doing a whole bunch of regionals around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Also did a lot of shows throughout Texas leading up to the UFC. So he had already, I'd had a chance to really work up aside him. And as I was watching him grow, he was one of the guys that I really thought was going to take the UFC by storm when he got there. But I was also just dude, his striking game, even back in the MMA day, was just nothing short of extraordinary.
In his moxie, too. I mean, Andrew, like
he's a Texan. he's a fellow Texan, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew, how would you describe Bedford's fighting style?
I mean, when you watch him fight, man, it's like, I just think he's quick. I mean, I hate to say this term, but he's got educated hands, man. Like whenever
he's brutal. He's brutal too. I mean, his nickname is Brutal Johnny Bedford, and that's exactly what he is. He is a brutal, very forceful, steps on the gas type of fighter. He always has been.
But he fights you on multiple fronts. Like physically, he's going to fight you. But then after he gets a knockdown or he gets like an advantage in an exchange, I'm not going to say it's showboating, although it is. It's like he's fighting you mentally as well. It's like it's just not physical with him. It goes beyond that. And based on his pedigree, like if you really look at it, this guy should have been like an MMA world title contender.
Absolutely.
And his ability to take damage and give it made him a world champion in a sport that he took on after his MMA career.
You had to kill Johnny to beat him. I mean, you literally had to break him down, physically, because you weren't breaking him down mentally. Johnny has always come to the dance with his head screwed on right. As long as I've known him, he is always, his headspace has always been there.
You're right. There's people with mental issues. Mark Kerr, he's got a movie coming out in October.
I announced his last fight. You know that?
Yes, I did.
I announced his last fight in Houston.
Johnny Bedford doesn't have those problems.
No,
he's got a world championship mindset. Yeah,
Johnny has his head screwed on right when he gets in there. I mean, and he's the nicest guy outside of the ring. That's 100% sure. Johnny and I have always gotten along. He's such a dear friend. Of course, we're going to see him at BKFC Texas.
I can't wait. Andrew, are you going to that one?
I'm going to try to make it to that one.
Okay.
Not too sure yet. I thought he retired already from fighting. Is he going to just
I think he's going to corner guys.
Oh, no. He's going to be cornering a couple of fighters. But hey, never say never.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
We got to get him on here.
Oh, yeah.
Bedford, he checks all the boxes for us. Bobby Gunn versus Beato Costa.
Irineu Costa Jr., man. That was an interesting one when I saw that matched up, because I had heard that Irineu had an injury before he had stepped into the ring. I think he had like a messed up ankle or something. But what was cool about Bobby fights you like a bare knuckle fighter, like an old school bare knuckle fighter. And people will ask, well, what is an old school bare knuckle fighter? I mean, what would you call that? Well, an old school bare knuckle fighter is a guy who fights you very unorthodox and targets like pressure points on your body or weird places to hit you. Like he'd hit you like in your armpit or your elbow or, just at an odd part on your thigh, like really weird places that you wouldn't expect someone to punch you. It totally throws off your timing, totally throws off your opponent's timing on everything, because he's just like, why the hell did he hit me there? Because you're not used to that. So he was tough to figure out his first fight with us. And I knew he was going to get that because, I mean, he was one of the guys that we built the show around. Because, Bobby had done business with, Dave before. I mean, we all remember the Bobby Gunn, Roy Jones Jr. fight. You were there, weren't you, Mike?
I was not there for that.
Oh, I thought you were there. Oh.
No. I was not. And the seventh fight, to me, this was like the most stacked fight where I thought, maybe they could have split up Arnold Adams and DJ Linderman
Yeah.
with Eric Prindle and Sam Shewmaker. I thought out the gate that might be the hardest fight in that tournament,
Man.
in that round one.
Here comes Eric Prindle, Bellator heavyweight season winner. It was either 4 or 5. I don't recall, but
season 5 winner.
Pretty much season 5 winner. Thank you. Getting ready to get primed for an MMA career, but decides to be part of history in the making. Comes over to BKFC. Sam Shewmaker, who is literally a mountain man. I mean, the guy...
He's like internet famous. Shewmaker.
The guy, he's not... He doesn't live in a city. He doesn't live in a city. He lives in a village.
Claims to have 15 to 20 bare knuckle fights prior to this.
Well, I mean, nothing like BKFC. Yeah. I mean, your atypical bare knuckle fight that happens here or there, but what happened in that fight? Now that I look at it in hindsight, I actually feel bad for the guy. In the long run, I feel bad for what happened with Sam. I feel great for what happened at the beginning, because that was one of the things that set us on the map. 18-second, one punch. The first punch that he threw, Eric's done. People, I just remember the electricity from that. The building just erupted, because that was the last thing that we were expecting, because Eric was in good shape. Eric looked good, but maybe it was just one of those things that, he was just off for half a fucking second, not even half a second. And boom, one punch. But what it did, unfortunately, it set the expectation for Sam Shewmaker way too damn high, because everybody thought he was going to be this next one-punch machine gun. I go in there, I throw one punch, I'm done.
Perdomo.
Everybody started thinking that was the way that he was going to go. And not only that, he was the figurehead of the Vice documentary. They surrounded almost the entire Vice documentary around him, because they thought that he was going to be the next heavyweight bare knuckle sensation for what happened. But unfortunately, as we all know, we never saw that one punch knockout again.
No, Prindle. I mean, so people can kind of wrap their heads around this to set the table. Eric Prindle has had some of the greatest coaches in the world.
Absolutely.
And like, he's a high-end sports car. And then you grab Sam Shewmaker, which is like a John Deere, plow. And the John Deere plow just destroyed that high-end sports car. And Prindle is one of those guys that they had thought would make it to the finals as well, between him and Maurice Jackson. That was
a lot of people thought that he was going to be another one of those. And I remember that. But what I also remember afterwards, what was interesting about Sam is that you always knew that Sam, after you get in the ring after a Sam Shewmaker fight, you knew that Sam was there, because Sam had this big country straight haired beard, this huge friggin' beard. But the day of the fight, leading up to the fight, you're not allowed to put conditioner or beard oil if you have that kind of beard. You're not allowed to have it. So while he was fighting, his hair was so dry and brittle that he'd shed during a fight. And you just see all this blonde and red, beard hair all over the mat, mixed in with the blood. And I'm just like, that almost looks like a Jason Pollock, Jay Pollock painting or whatever. It's just everywhere, everything. But that's how you always knew that Sam Shewmaker was fighting, because unfortunately, like I said, he wasn't allowed to condition his beard before a fight, because, could have been slippery or everything like that. Not that anybody's grabbing for it, and just all this hay everywhere, just everywhere. I found that amusing. And I'm definitely not knocking on the hillbilly hammer, because there's a reason he calls him that. You make fun of him, he punches you. I'm just kidding. I love you, Sam.
But he's a really nice guy.
I love Sam. Yeah. Sam is absolutely the epitome of a good and humble fighter. He's the kind of guy that I think that we're still kind of waiting for him to really open the vault. I want to see Sam. I mean, I've seen Sam in some fantastic fights, but I think he's holding back a little bit as far as opening the vault on a fight. When he opens the vault, I think that's when you're going to see a very, very dangerous man.
My belief is Johnny Bedford should be sitting down and becoming a counselor for these guys, because I think Sam Shewmaker also falls into that category. Like he needs some of that Johnny Bedford in his head.
I think we all do. I think honestly, if we could get that Johnny
it's
Bedford shot in the morning, making
Yeah.
us feeling good in the head, I think everybody would be better.
Internationally, this is like when you knew the event was real. Let's just say you showed up there, you get a ticket, not a lot going on in Wyoming, and
No.
Beck Rawlings and Alma Garcia. That's a legit fight, dude.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah,
that was and it was also the very first female bare knuckle fight in modern day bare knuckle history. So that was one that I think out of the anticipation from what I had seen, that was the one that was the most exciting in my head, because it was the first. I mean, it was the very, very first. What are people going to think when they see these female warriors and their faces completely masked and caked in blood? How are people going to take that? I'm just interested. I was interested in the fight, but I was also interested on the after effects, the implications that people were going to have afterwards. And they weren't nearly as bad as we thought it would be.
And Beck Rawlings makes considerable amount of money on her OnlyFans. And I like you said, like I was really curious how this was going to play out. Would she monetize it? Would she not? She's always got like some shirt on that's got kind of a crazy statement on it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was there for the right reasons. Are you here to monetize your OnlyFans, or are you here to actually fight? And she cleared that.
She did both.
She really settled that conversation quick.
She did both. She came there to fight. She came there to show who she was. She came to show that she wasn't a pushover on that. I love Beck. If there was ever one mistake that I said that Beck made, it's that when Beck finally made it, she went back to MMA. And I don't think that was a good decision. I mean,
it was more financial.
Looking at the position that she was at, she was the number one female bare knuckle fighter in the world.
I think she's the most popular bare knuckle fighter in the world.
And she had that responsibility to help build the brand, and she kind of took off on that. But the reason why that I don't even think about that anymore is because look at the impact that she had when she came back. She killed it.
Yeah.
She absolutely showed why she was the bare knuckle queen. So anything that I had negative thinking about her just taking off her MMA completely got answered once she got back, because I'm like, it's like she never left.
Yeah.
She came back in swinging.
Yeah. You're talking about somebody with children that's got other mouths to feed other than their own. So I get it. That would have been the fight of the night had Tony Lopez and Joey Beltran not stepped through those ropes.
And that was interesting story behind that one. And still to this day is probably still one of my favorite fights, if not my favorite fight in BKFC history. Tony Lopez and Joey Beltran won. Still, if not my favorite, still to this day. It was originally on the schedule as a swing bout. It was not supposed to be aired on television. It was all depending on whether we ran short or ran over. We did not expect to go as fast as we were, because we had never done bare knuckle fighting before, and we're moving fast.
So they get put swing bout.
Yeah, they were a swing. They were originally scheduled as a swing bout, so there was a possibility that fight may not have aired on television at one point. Yeah. And then it ends up getting added on in the co-main event position. I mean, it wasn't the scheduled co-main event, but it was in the co-main event position, and it was a war. It was an absolutely delicious, beautiful, bloody war. It was awesome.
So Tony Lopez, he's probably got 90 to 100 fights, definitely over 80.
He's easily
he's
over
north
100.
of 80.
Easily over 100.
He's okay. Yeah. And he's 2-0 against Joey Beltran. And when you kind of look at career trajectory, Tony Lopez fell far shorter than the distance that Joey Beltran went. And for some reason, Lopez is in Beltran's head and makes Beltran fight Lopez's fight, and Beltran bites every single time. Every single time.
Well, I mean, that's why he was that's why Tony, that's why, Joey was our heavyweight champion. I mean, that totally makes sense why he was our heavyweight champion. But I will tell you this, man, it's just, it's interesting. It's interesting because the thing about it is, I mean, he's not 2-0 on
against Beltran.
He's not 2-0. He's 1-1 because BKFC 4 was a draw. BKFC 4 when he fought for the rematch, that was a draw.
Yeah, but I'm talking at BKFC 1.
Yeah. He's 1-0 at the time. Yeah, 1-0 at the time. Yes, 1-0. Yes. Yes.
In MMA,
but that could have gone either way. A lot of people were really thinking that Tony had made up enough time as the rounds progressed. They thought that he had made up, enough time to make up for the fight. But, that ended up not being the way that it went out. But but rounds 4 and 5, oh my God.
Yeah, it's war.
Oh my God.
And you know what? Like the heat between them was palpable. Like it was real.
Because they had fought so many times before. Yeah.
It wasn't fake. And they're both from the same region. So they're seeing each other at regional shows. There was just, hey, dude, we're not going to be friends. We weren't friends in the past. We're not going to be friends in the future. Let's just, every time we see each other, let's try to stay away from one another. It's one of those types of relationships.
Professional colleagues.
Yeah.
You can call them professional colleagues at best, because they weren't friends. They weren't friends.
No.
But they wanted to do their best when they fought. And how could you not love that? But that was the fight, in my opinion, that really sold the concept.
Yeah.
The one fight of the night, in my opinion, that overall sold what BKFC was all about and what to expect moving forward. They kind of set that blueprint.
That was that baptism fight. Yep. Yeah.
It was an awesome fight. It's like I said, still one of my favorites.
Yeah. You made the announcement that you guys are trending number 3 on Twitter. The first time. Was that bullshit or was that true?
Oh no, I was asked to do a lot of requests from Senior on the first one that I
was
had
it
not
true?
Yeah.
Was it, or were they just kind of BS?
No, it was a request from Senior. It was that we were on a pay-per-view. We were on pay-per-view, at that time. So we pretty much could kind of do what we wanted, but I got so much added in. And the thing about it was, at the beginning, I don't think Dave, Dave approached it, I guess, kind of like a regional show. Like I can just say whatever I want to on the microphone. And I'm like, Dave, I want to do what you say, but I got to clear everything through production. I got to clear everything for production. And he played the boss card, a couple of times. So when he, when he really goes down on that boss card, I'm like, there you go.
Yeah. It's Ricco,
I mean, you know what I mean by that, Mike. I mean,
course.
if anybody wants me to say something else, I always say, man, everything needs to be cleared through production because we're on a timetable.
Yeah. And the main event, Ricco Rodriguez versus Louis Rumsey.
It was not that great. Not that great. Not that great, unfortunately. Ricco really didn't want to get down and dirty and engage. I mean, he won on points. He won on points, but he didn't want to one up what he had just saw between Lopez and Beltran. Sometimes people see that and they're like, "Oh shit, look, they set the bar for the night." Well, we got to do something about that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that didn't happen. And that was the one and only time that we saw Ricco in the BKFC and in the BKFC heavyweight tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that, man. Like I was still stunned by Lopez and Beltran, and I had watched this. I want to say maybe like 2 or 3 months afterward. I think it was put on YouTube, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this a little shot. And I was hooked. But still kind of figuring it out. Kind of looking at it skeptically.
Well, it's the objectable violence is what it was. I mean, and I'm like, well, violence, you call it objectable when in fact it's subjective. I mean, some people are going to like it, some people aren't. But when it comes to the primal brutality of bare knuckle fighting, I think that's in everybody. I just think that the majority of society is very good at suppressing that. But perfect example. Perfect example. Do you remember? You remember the movie Fight Club, right?
Of course.
All right. Do you remember the scene when they started becoming Project Mayhem? When they started Project Mayhem, remember one day they said, "Go and pick a fight with anybody." And they went after, like, the one that got me the most was the guy that was trying to start the fight with the priest. Like, he threw the Bible down, he started spraying his hose on it and started pushing it, and the priest started fighting back. The priest started fighting back. And that just shows that everybody, no matter how civilized or how you suppress your anger and such, that primal instinct of you to throw your hands, not caring if there's gloves on it or not, it's in there. It's in there. It's the same reason. It's the same reason why people slow down at the scene of an accident, hoping to see some carnage. You know, these are the same people who are trying to boycott combat sports. I'm like, ma'am, until you slow down at the scene of it, until you speed away from the scene of an accident, I'm not going to believe anything you say when it comes to primal brutality. Sorry,
Jeff. What was the post fight like?
It was kind of non-existent because of where we were. It was Wyoming. You know, I mean, it was the very, very first one. There wasn't a whole lot that we did. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember a whole lot of what happened. The post. I know
the conversations, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just I think everybody was still, even after it happened, wrapping their heads around everything. You know, it didn't end up becoming the epic lobby parties that most of us with BKFC remember back in the day, when everybody after the show, we'd occupy the lobby of the hotel that we were in, and everybody would be there, from the production to the executive. Everybody just be sitting there, having a drink, having a good time. Those lobby parties that we had were epic. I miss those so much. If there's one thing that I miss about BKFC, it was those lobby parties, man. That was with everybody got a chance to get together on every front and talk about it, and talk about what we just saw, because it was worth talking about it.
After this, was it one of those things where you're just kind of like, man, I feel dirty. Not sure what this is.
Dirty,
because
no.
That's how I was. That's how I was, like, when I watched UFC 2.
A little underground, maybe a little maybe okay. A touch underground. Maybe kind of a touch, not like ECW kind of like renegade stuff, which we ended up becoming like renegade fighting, and we still kind of are in a very, very minimal sense of the word. But I think what it is, man, is that we were like carnies. Yeah. We were like circus folk. I mean, we still are today.
Yeah.
We go around the world with a traveling show. What do you call that? You call that that's a circus. We're carnies. We're selling that. And but back then, I think it was just everybody turning a sneer at us because they didn't understand it. And you know how most people are. You know, when they don't understand something, they won't like it. But the ones who started picking up on it, do you know how many people that we've actually, you know, turned from the light to the dark? You know, at first they were like saying, "Oh, there's no way that this is going to happen," and now they're our biggest fans.
Yeah, I mean, look at the athletic commissions.
28 athletic commissions said no to Dave before Wyoming said we'll give that a try. Think about that. 28 athletic commissions. That's over half of the country that said this is not going to work.
Jeff, were you there when Dave Feldman was served legal papers?
Well, of course I was. It was all when we were setting up the ring, you know. Yeah, I was there when the SWAT team members were there with the canine units, and the dogs wouldn't shut the hell up at the weigh-ins. They kept barking and everything. I was there while he was by the ring, and he got served from the legal papers, and he said, you know, I'm going to do with this. I'm going to wipe my ass with it. You know, I mean, which is exactly what I would have said.
It's just so, like, how everybody can kind of understand. Like, one, he's getting turned down left and right. Finally finds a state that'll do it. Gets death threats, like actual death threats.
Yeah, actual death threats.
Death threats.
Mm-hmm.
And served legal work before the event even starts.
I honestly, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious because my first thought was, man, he's really getting to somebody. I mean, somebody's not wanting this to happen. It's almost like somebody not getting invited to a party, and what do? They call the fire department or the police department. They lodge a noise complaint.
Honestly, okay. Based on like what I had heard, what was taking place prior to the event, I had thought for sure somebody was going to pull a fire alarm during the event.
You are not the only person alone thinking that. There were a multitude of things that I thought people were going to prank or try to get this stopped, or the fire marshal was going to come in, or the athletic commission wasn't going to agree on something. I thought that a wrench in the gears was imminent.
Yeah, I really did. Feldman wouldn't have given a shit. I don't know. He would have he really would not have.
He doesn't give a shit now about something like that. All that he cares about is getting the fights in the ring.
It's fucking wild, man, isn't it?
I love it. I love it. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. I never thought. I have been a combat sports fan for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of kickboxers. In fact, there was a very famous American kickboxer that was a family friend. He was the former ISKA WBA super heavyweight kickboxing champion, Bad Brad Hefton, back in the day. And that's going way, way, way back when. But he was a family friend, and I had been to a couple of his fights. My dad took me to a couple of his fights when I was a kid, and I loved it. I mean, this was back in the day of the Don the Dragon Wilson, when American kickboxing was really, really popular, and it was shown on pay-per-view from time to time. So leading into the UFC, see, I was 15, almost 16 when the UFC first came around, and I ordered the first pay-per-view. I actually watched the first pay-per-view, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, dude, this is the movie Bloodsport playing out right before our very eyes. This literally is the fucking Kumite.
Andrew, like you've been around a little bit. You've seen it backstage and kind of how the moving parts.
Yeah.
Feldman's a second generation boxing guy. His dad didn't promote, but he was around enough to where he kind of understood. He's got like next level understanding of it. Like there's volumes and levels of fuck you whenever you're dealing with adversity. I don't know too many people that would have tolerated everything that he had to do in order to make this first fight happen.
Yeah, people would have folded, man. I mean, it's a lot to take in. I mean, when you rewatch the documentary, you could tell he was going to make it happen regardless what they served him.
And it was an uphill struggle. It's still an uphill struggle. We're about ready to celebrate 7 years, June the 2nd, just a couple days from now, and it's still an uphill struggle. And it's going to be until the brand reaches the same point like when the UFC first reached brand recognition point. Because at the beginning, the UFC had to count on having some kind of local fighters represented at their cards where they went in order to sell tickets. It wasn't completely 100% brand recognition like it is now. The UFC can go anywhere. And more than likely, it's going to sell out each and every place that it goes because people know the BKFC. You don't have to have a local fighter on the card. I mean, it helps, but you don't have to have a local fighter. The UFC will sell out on brand recognition alone. BKFC will eventually get to that point.
I agree. And it's like right now, it's the dark ages of the UFC. And
I think we're a little bit past that, actually. I think we're in the Bronze Age now. I think we're in the Bronze. Oh no, actually, the Dark Ages is better because the Bronze Age is farther. So I'll take what you're saying.
It's the Dark Ages, and the reason is because, look what's going on with Triller. There's uncertainty. People are kind of like, what's going on? And it's before it's mainstream. It's before the Ultimate Fighter season 1 took place. And to be honest with you, that's all of our favorite times of the UFC. Like their product today as compared to what it was, that was my favorite era. And living in that era and hearing a guy like Big Poppa Schnake publicly state, we are living in the greatest era of mixed martial arts.
I think Poppa Schnake was actually the first performance-based announcer, because I know that Poppa Schnake was doing his performance stuff before Bruce was doing, his shtick. Big. Yeah, I know we've had that talk before about Big Poppa and He left. He was definitely a different kind of dude. He was an exciting cat who lived really fucking fast.
Well, I would even, I mean, I've stated on numerous podcasts, when Big Poppa Schnake died, Bruce Buffer became Big Poppa Schnake.
Pretty much. I mean, that there's truth to that.
I mean, he
There's truth to that.
borrowed a lot of his act, including his sayings.
Dude, it
his
seems like
sayings.
everybody does that. I mean,
Yeah.
why do you think we got a cease and desist? And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Hey,
Jeff,
well, to your credit, Jeff, I think it gave a better tone to when you present let's knuckle up versus when you say the whole thing. I just feel like the way you say it now, it's a much better touch.
it rolls better.
I
It
appreciate
rolls
that,
better.
and I like it. I actually like it better because it belongs to BKFC. It's not anybody else's, and it's as simple should be. The minute that you start complicating a catchphrase, let it be known on this podcast, MMA Detective Mike Davis. I can't stand catchphrases. They have actually become a scourge of the world of ring announcers because all ring announcers think that they have to have a catchphrase when in fact we all know that there are only two ring announcers that happen to have the same last name that are actually making bank on the trademarking of their catchphrases. Everybody else is just saying something else. Now, yes, I have two catchphrases. Let's knuckle up, which is exclusive property of BKFC. Okay, that's not mine. I don't say that anywhere else but BKFC. Mine is my trademarked catchphrase.
Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello.
hello, hello. That is mine. Yeah, that
You,
is that is
sorry.
that one's important. That one's important to me because of the fact that I wanted a catchphrase that shed the light on the unsung heroes, which were the guys and gals that start the fight card, start the main card. And I always liked giving them their due. I always saw the main event. Man, you can see a million things for the main event and still make it special. But it's the main freaking event.
Yeah.
But those unsung heroes who
They're-
curtain jerk and get the show started, dude, they've earned their moment in the sun. So
Absolutely
that's
agree.
why I give the hello, hello, hello at the beginning of the main card.
Andrew,
I mean, I was just rewatching BKFC 3. That's the first time you use the hello, hello, hello. Also, I did notice the style of the way you say the names of the fighters. It just felt like, all right, this is going to be the Jeff Houston we're going to have from here on out. It just seemed like it was
he
polished and
matured.
clean.
He started
Yeah,
maturing. Yeah.
Well, you
BKFC 3.
evolve. I mean,
you evolved. Yeah.
you evolve and you try certain things and you end up becoming the person that you want to be within the product. And that took a long time. There were so many
It
times
took you
when I was
3
trying to
events.
find
It took you 3
my
events.
right voice. When I was trying to find my right voice, Mike, my voice cracked all the damn time. All the damn time trying to find where I wanted to be. People were saying, "Man, is that ring announcer going through puberty? Did his balls just drop? I mean, what the hell? I mean, it's just, because I was still trying to find the register that I wanted to be known for BKFC. So that took a little while to figure that out. But once I finally got it, I was just like, dude, I got it. This is it. This is how I want to be synonymous, throughout my ring announcing career. I found, you know what it is? It's finding the pace, the posture, the identity that you want to be known for. I found it. And I was thrilled when I found it because I was just like, hell yeah. I wasn't expecting to find it, but I did. And I appreciate that. Even though that BKFC won, I looked horrendous. Silver jacket, 3D printed metal bow tie that I was wearing. I still love that tie, but I'm going to be framing it actually and putting it against my wall pretty soon. And my sad attempt at a platinum blonde hairstyle, which I had been doing a couple of months before. Let me tell you something. The hate online that I received after BKFC 1, still to this day, is easily the most voracious, the most brutal, and some of the most funniest some of these guys, the comments that they had. One guy said that I look like Brian Bosworth in the year 3400. I was just like, this is comical, man. In fact, I think I actually have that comment printed out on my wall somewhere. I liked it so much, I actually put it on my wall. So you had to kind of learn from that, just like anything. So it's an evolution. It's an evolution of Mr. Live Worldwide, 100%.
Jeff, so you talk about finding identity. My question is, how do you find the suit for the event? Like, what's the process for picking the suit for every event? I think I may have seen you do same suit maybe once at the most, if that.
And there's the illusion. You might as well call me a magician, because the illusion behind that is that I'm very good at rotating. Very, very good. I do my research when I work with BKFC, and I make sure that I don't show one particular suit too often. And I make sure that the rotation is proper, and I get that all the time. People say you must buy a new suit each and every time. I'm like, no, I'm just really, really good. I started off with a custom company out of Los Angeles called Angelino that was doing my suits for the longest time. But ever since Knucklemania 5, well, actually the event right before Knucklemania 5, I started working. I have a sponsorship with a suit company out of London. They're called Mochee Kent, Mochee Kent. And I came across them one day, and I was in love. I was like, oh my God, this is the cosmetic. This is how I want to know. This is how I want to be synonymous as far as my cosmetic presentation. These are the kind of suits that I want for the rest of my career. And they love working with me. They love the product. They love BKFC. They love that I want to get so hands-on with each and every suit that I have that I go through. I said, I want something new every time. I said, I don't want to be painted with one brush when it comes to like a suit, because I've seen so many ring announcers that wear just regular black suits, black tie. I'm like, you either look like a pallbearer or you look like a maitre d' at a restaurant. I'm like, this is an entertainment industry. You have to dress the part.
Andrew, go ahead. You're chomping at the bit. Go ahead.
What made you retire the metal bow? That's what I wanted to know.
All right. Somebody finally asked me that. Nobody
You're a
asks me that
fucking
anymore.
Andrew,
The
you're a
damnedest
fucking
thing.
idiot.
I had to ask.
No, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that you asked, because the metal bow tie, man, I had that for leading up to that. I've been doing the metal bow ties for like over 10 years up to that point. Over 10 years up to that point. And everybody loved the metal bow ties, because I'm like, enough of the cloth. Try something a little harder. How about some metal ones? So I'd done that for like 10, 12 years leading up to that. One day, as I was, deep in thought of looking for a signature look for me, I always try to do something that no one else is doing. I came across this Etsy page, and this Lithuanian lady who was taking the bow ties and turning them the other way, going from, horizontal to vertical.
Wait. Did you do that first, or did Bruce Buffer do that first?
Bruce Buffer would never have thought to do that. Would never have thought.
Dude,
I was the.
Wait,
I guarantee
those are fighting
you.
words.
I'm talking to the MMA detective right there. I am giving you permission to dig as deep as you want to find another ring announcer who did a vertical bow tie. I'm the first one.
Now let me counter with just hypothetical counter.
Nope.
Let me just hypothetically counter. My belief is that Bruce Buffer wears thong string underwears that match his suit, like with lace. And
so Andrew, getting back to what you were talking about before Mike started going off the rails,
be appropriate for him. So go ahead. And I might be right. Like, I'm not. Listen, if you're a betting man, lacy underwear that matches the suit, I think Bruce Buffer might. I bet the over on that. Go ahead.
The views shown here from MMA detective Mike Davis are not necessarily the ones shared by Mr. Live Worldwide. Let that be known.
Jeff,
he's not a boxer guy. Wait.
All right. So getting back to that. Hey, I can appreciate you going off the rails, man. I go off on tangents all the time. I'm never on the same conversation for the longest time.
I got my old lady looking at me. Go ahead, Andrew.
So
right.
basically what happened is that I come across this lady who's doing these vertical bow ties with all this extra fabric around it to kind of, bling it out. And I'm like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's even attempted to do something like that. I mean, that is so against traditional. I love it. And that's one of my favorite things. I love when I look at something and I'm like, why does it have to look this way? Why does a lapel have to have a notch right there? Why does a tie have to be turned this way? Why? So when I look at that, I like, what if we do a 180, a 90 degree? I mean, obviously you can't do a 360 because you come right back around to where you started. So no point in that. But I always liked doing stuff different. And then I started really seeing this lady and all the different kind of designs that she does. Not only can she do, they're called Rudy ties, Ruty, Rudy ties. And not only are they for like super, formal occasions, but you can wear those with any regular occasional suit. And it looks awesome, man. It's and it's a conversation starter. It's definitely a conversation starter, except I will say this. Every now and then, I get somebody who comes and taps me on the shoulder throughout the night and says, "Excuse me, sir. I really didn't want to say anything, but your tie, it's been crooked the whole night.
Oh,
Just wanted you to
man,
know that."
sons of bitches. Jeff, I get that. I get people in our comments going, well, Mike means well, but actually, this is what happens. So that hurts my feelings. It hurts my feelings. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, man. Take comfort in knowing that your tears will soothe your skin.
Okay, Andrew.
So Jeff, when you're reading your ring card, what's the process of like? I have a ring card right here. This is a Jeff Houston ring
Oh
card.
my goodness, pulling out the
Uh,
big guns. Which one is that?
so this is Kai Stewart versus Brian Duran. It was
Oh,
the
that was a
Florida
good
card, triple
one.
main eventer,
That was a
basically.
good one.
Um, so what's the process for like when you write these down? Do you write syllables for some names you can't say? Do you rehearse it beforehand? What's the process for that?
The only thing that I rehearse is phonetics. Anything that I have to say phonetically, I rehearse. Everything else is just on the spot. The only thing, yeah, that's the only thing that I really truly rehearse because sometimes you get a tongue twister of a name. And the weird thing is that you expect like the tongue twisters to be like the really awkward names, like the Thai names that have like, 16 syllables just within their first name. And like, no, it's the weird names like Polish fighters
Or the
where
Russians. You mean
or
you
Rush
spent all that time in
no,
Russia?
Russians are actually a hell of a lot easier because I've
Oh,
spent so much time in Russia. But it's
wow.
the Polish fighters that even if you say it right as a foreigner, someone in Poland is still going to have issue with the way that you pronounced it because it's so weird. So there are plenty of places like that to where the phonetics, yeah, they can throw me off a time or two, even as long as I've been doing it. But I always get with the fighters because the most important thing for me when I am introducing a fighter, especially a fighter any kind of foreign descent, I always tell them I want to announce your city just like you would say it, and I want to say your first and last name and your nickname just like you would say it. Just like you would say it. I don't want to dumb it down because I speak English or whatever, or because I'm not fluent in your particular language, whoever you are. No,
Your accent. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I want to give them that credit because they're putting their ass on the lines for us. The very least I can do is say their name correctly.
We wrapping this one up, Andrew?
No, keep going. Keep going.
I gotta go to bed, dude.
God, you're no fun.
No, I'm
Your
dude.
call, Mike.
For sure, I'm not fun, Jeff. That is an absolute fact. That's an absolute fact.
Well, I'll give you credit. I will give you credit. Your sushi sense is better than I thought it would be.
My man, I appreciate that. Andrew, go ahead. Last question before I wrap this up.
Yeah. So would you? I heard that you're good at doing wrestler impersonations. Could you give us one before wrap this thing up?
Who do you want?
Anyone, hit me with some lightning.
All right, all right. I'll give you a little nature boy.
Okay.
I'll give you a little nature boy. I mean, I inducted him in the NWA Hall of Fame back in 2008,
That's cool.
Robstown, Texas, on his Hall of Fame tour. So I got to I actually got to do my Ric Flair impression in front of him. one of the wrestlers said, "Hey Jeff, why don't you show Ric Flair your Nature Boy impression?" And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "You do an impression of me?" And I said, "Sir, I would really want you to think better of me." And he's like, "Oh no, you got to do it now. You got to be the Nature Boy." And so I went ahead and I did the, I'll do it real quick. Oh, and believe me, this is the real deal. Ladies and gentlemen, it's WrestleMania 8. It's Indianapolis, Indiana. It's bright lights. It's the big cities. It's long limousines. It's women lined up for a block to take a shot at the champ and Mr. Perfect. But most of all, it's Randy Savage's last attempt to walk the aisle to defend the honor of his lady and to try and capture the most coveted trophy of them all, the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Randy, after taking the worst beating of your life, keep this in mind when you're flat on your back. Look up to the big screen, because Mr. Perfect will be waving the fold out from Liz, and pal, she's all the way live. And then Liz, to top it all off, you get one last shot, baby, at Space Mountain. Oh yeah, woo! There you go.
Jeff Houston, everybody.
Jeff Houston, let me tell you something, Jeff. I truly enjoy our time together on the road. I know we're pulled in different directions and different circles at times, but I enjoy yourself. I enjoy talking old school MMA with you and just kicking back. And I sincerely appreciate the candor and your friendship.
Oh, come on, Mike. Reciprocated in every way, shape, and form, all day, every day, in any way. You know that.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy right here, the legend, Jeff Houston. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.